Virtual Tea Time. My name is Tori, and today we are joined with, it's been a second, but we have Kimberly Eaton, Colorado Hall of Famer, tequila drinking, just mad woman now. Thanks for coming back, Kim.
Thanks for having me.
I was just telling Ashley, I said, you know what? It had been a little too long. You texted me. You're like, when are we getting back on the airwaves?
Well, you said you were going to send me a schedule, and you never did.
I know. So a little behind the scenes info. I'd like to schedule out things at least a month or two in advance with when I'm going to be in the podcast studio. And it's just tough in the summer. People are here, people are there. No one wants to be in this 118 degree heat, that's for sure.
It's not 118 in here.
No, it's beautiful. And then we have Michael Leonard from Wicked Smart Golf. You were on before. Thanks for coming back, Michael.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Let's talk about the heat for a second. So today we're going to get into tournament prep. But before we get into it, we have Kim coming off of a lot of tournaments. You've been playing a lot so far in June and July. And then Michael, you just came off of the USAM qualifier. Okay, we golfed yesterday. Kim, I was your caddy at Papago for the U.S. Senior Women's Open qualifier. And it didn't get too hot, but it was still hot.
No, it wasn't bad at all.
I'd say it probably topped out because we finished at 11 a.m.-ish. It probably had reached 105 by that point, maybe 110.
So, I don't think it was 110. I'd say 105.
But 105. How were you feeling yesterday? You were feeling good?
Yeah, the heat doesn't bother me as much as it bothers a lot of other people. I'd much rather have it be way too hot than cold.
I agree on that. So the USGA made a last-minute exception for us yesterday. They said, okay, you guys can ride in the carts because usually, even though you have a handicap sticker, let's call it our flag, what do you call it? You can always ride, Kim.
Correct.
But usually the player
has to walk.
Okay, so the USGA made an exception yesterday. Said, fine, you guys can both ride, meaning myself, the caddy, and the player, Kim, and that was just for yesterday. Michael, a week ago, fill us in on your USAM qualifier day.
That was hot. It was, I was first off, and even the last 6 holes felt more like survival than focusing on the golf.
36 holes?
It actually is only 18. It's normally 36, but Arizona's a little different. I think because the heat, they know people would fall over and not make it all 36. So we had 18. They cut 70% of the field, and then you go back for the next day. So it only took 3 spots. But yeah, I went out at 7:30, and it was already warm. And then by 13 or 14, it was, because we played fast, so we were first out, but then we met the group that teed off on 1. So we were waiting every shot. So it kind of got out of our momentum there, but I can't blame the heat for not finishing quite the way I did. But yeah, it was brutal. It was 115 or so. And then about 2 weeks ago, I had the Arizona Open qualifying, and we didn't go out till almost noon, and it was 110 when we teed off. It was supposed to be a 7 to 9 window, but they messed up. So they got some public out for a couple hours, maximized that revenue.
In the public, yes.
And then all of a sudden we got out there, and yeah, it was pretty hot that day. It was 110 teeing off. So.
And just to clarify for the listeners, so the AM qualifier, you had to walk that entire time. You carried your bag, or did you use a push cart?
Oh no, who's carrying their bag? No, I'm 35 and 36 in 4 days. There's no way I'm putting that on the back.
You're using a push cart.
Push cart for life, absolutely.
35.
And then
were you carrying your bag? You're making me feel bad now.
35. I'm 64. Are you crazy? I can't even walk. So why would I carry?
I'm just saying, I don't know if I read this study or I heard it somewhere, but I'm going to go with this study really existed, that if you pushed versus carried, it was a shot difference. So let's just say that's the case, because I don't want to lug that thing around, and I pack snacks and food. It's like a pantry with me. Yeah. So.
And I actually heard too, calories burned between carrying your bag and pushing a cart is 20 calories difference. You're still burning just as many calories.
I just wrote an article for one of my clients about that, and it is negligible. It's 25 calories or something like that. So it's a couple of grapes.
Has it published yet? Let me know that.
I will let you know when it's published. Yep.
Because I know there's a lot of listeners out there. If we're going to walk 18 holes, we want want to know exactly, can we splurge a little at dinner afterwards, and when we're tired and, so we want to know how many calories burned. Okay, so
Wow, really?
Yes. The Arizona Open qualifier. Did you have to walk? Was
We
there
get
walking?
carts. Yeah, we get
you
carts
had
for that one. So
Okay.
yeah, that helped.
All right. So, Kim, let's talk about some of your wins because
Oh.
you've had.
I've only had one. Well,
Okay, well, talk about it. Because that was a big win.
It was the Colorado Senior Women's Match Play Championship. We're doing the pod system now, like the PGA does, where there's 4 people in a pod, and so you're assured to play 3 days. You play everybody in your pod, and then the winner of the pod is the one that had the most points. And then so we had 4 pods, and so then we actually had to add another round in because we had to have a semifinal round because we had 4 pods. So we played 2 rounds in one day, and that day in Colorado, it was actually pretty hot. It was probably 95, which is, in Colorado, that's like 105 here. So it was good, but, we get to ride. And my last match in the pod was the hardest. I was playing Janet Moore, who's another Colorado Golf Hall of Famer, and I knew it was going to be tough, and it went 19 holes. So
I love it.
And then in the semifinals, I played Lynn Smistowski, who lives in Arizona part-time.
Lindsay.
But she's a Colorado Golf Hall of Famer, too. So I was just getting them all out, And actually, Lynn, she's 78 years old. I think a lot of the women were really impressed with how well she played. She's lost a little distance, but she's just down the middle all the time. And this was her home course, too.
What course?
Willis Case. It's a public course in Denver, and it's a great golf course and stuff. And then my final was against Marilyn Hardy, who, her husband is Jim Hardy, a renowned golf professional teacher. He teaches people on the men on the Champions Tour, and he has built golf courses. Anyway, Marilyn's a good player, and I beat her 2-1, so I played well.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike
Congratulations.
Golf clap there.
unlike yesterday.
I know, yesterday was tough. I started writing notes in my phone as we were going along because I didn't want to forget some things I wanted to talk about today. And the first hole, you had 5 foot par putt, and you missed it. And she wasn't phased whatsoever. And actually, I took that, I put in my notes because I just thought it was impressive. Like, obviously, it's the first hole. You bogeyed the first hole. It's not something you want to do, especially over a putt that's totally makeable. But you just let it go, and you kept moving forward, and it was like nothing had happened. And
I think that the turnaround came at the 4th hole, par 3, when I doubled it. I hadn't been in the sand in there. I know they put new sand in, last year? Mm-hmm. Well, it's still pretty thick. And
it is.
I left it in the bunker and then got it on and 2-putted. I actually putted pretty well yesterday, except for the 2 putts on the back 9. But I knew after the front 9 that I was just here to take up space for the back 9. So I
We
played
had a good
better.
time.
Yeah, we did.
We were with Robin, a good friend. It was the 3 of us. It was a good time.
And it was kind of tough being a twosome because the group in front of us was a hole behind all day long.
Yeah.
And everything, but
We knew we had to be patient.
no one was going to catch Dina Amakapani. I mean, she was 4 under after 4 holes.
Yeah, she was on fire. She had one of those rounds, but and the qualifier was at Papago. Now, Papago is not one of Michael's favorite courses. It plays a little different for her.
Well, I can tell you,
The
it played a
back
little
tees.
different yesterday from
Yeah.
the tees that we played than the,
Yeah.
not so much the par 4s, but the par 5s were a lot longer except for 10.
Yeah.
But
Michael, what's been going on with your late spring, early summer? What's a win that you can talk, like what are you most proud of so far in your tournament season?
It's been solid. It's been so much golf lately. I feel like I'm finally really in a nice groove, and it feels like I need to figure out how to get that earlier in the year. I think we kind of talked about that. And so I finished 5th in the Arizona Open qualifier, so really excited about that. It was my, I think, 4th year trying, and the first year was nowhere near it, shot 80. Last few years I was 73, 74, so just a couple shots off, but usually you got to shoot even par. to get at least a playoff spot. And this year we played it at Aguila, so I was trying to go to a place I had a lot of good rounds and I felt pretty confident with, and got off to a really hot start that day. I had started off par, just left the birdie putt like an inch short, birdied the second hole, birdied the, I think, third hole, so I was off to a really good start, and then eagled the eighth hole. So I was 4 under through 8, and I was like, whoa, like what just happened? Yeah. And I hate to be that guy, but I was like, I left a few out there too. Like I was really playing good, and same on 9, and faltered a little bit on the back, hit a few loose swings, but ended up making it by 2. And so I just was really excited to finally get there, and I have that at Mesa Country Club next week, and it's always falls on my birthday, so I've always wanted to play on my birthday there. And then Mesa's
When's your birthday?
August 1st.
Oh, we're almost soulmates. I'm August 3rd.
Nice. I'll wish you happy birthday. Don't worry.
Are you guys both, is that Leo?
Leo. Yep.
Interesting.
And then the other one was down in Tucson last week for the AGA. Finished 5th there, played really well, and hit some super clutch shots on the last day. I never played the course until Friday afternoon, so it was fun to go. It was kind of back-to-back. Torrey Pines, I had 4 tournaments in 12 days, so it was pretty busy, but was feeling good. So yeah, I was happy to have a few good finishes, and just felt good to like have a game plan and really stick with it, and not like kind of falter towards the back 9.
Yeah. So let's get into tournament prep, but let's start at the very beginnings about making your schedule. Because, I mean, just that. You had all those tournaments in that 12-day period. Did you say 12-day period?
I think so.
Wow. So how, for both of you, at the beginning of the season, and for us at the beginning of seasons, I mean, really, it starts February, maybe January, but it's kind of like we have a couple warm-up tournaments in January, February, but so the season usually starts late spring, summer. How do you make your schedule? Because you have Kim, you like to travel between Arizona and Colorado a lot in the summer. So, and Michael, you're going all over the place. So how do you prioritize your tournament schedule when you're making it? I mean, how early are you even making it?
Oh, I try and do it a year in advance whenever they'll let me. The USGA tournaments, you're going to know when those are. Maybe not the qualifiers, but you're going to know when the tournaments are. And I always, I'm always calling, hey, when are you doing this? When are you I'm sure they don't like to hear from me sometimes because I want to know. And then, unfortunately, they make conflicts, and it screws everything up. But
and when you say they make conflicts, it's like some state tournaments are over a qualifier, or
right, or a
like
qualifier is during a national tournament that
Yeah.
you could be playing in. Could.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not.
How about you, Michael?
Sign up for everything. That's pretty much my mentality. Yeah, like every year I've tried and get in more tournament golf. We're getting pretty close, I feel like, to maxing out the summer months, but definitely have some room to improve from October to February. So it's just kind of hard with overseed and stuff. But yeah, for me, I try and sign up for all the AGA events, and then all the USGA qualifiers. I do some mini tour stuff in the fall because that's about all that's around. So they let AMs in there, and sometimes I'll overbook myself, I feel like, energy-wise, but I've gotten better now. I think this is the 2nd or 3rd year where I play about 65 tournament days a year, and so I feel like I'm kind of getting better with energy management, work, travel, life, everything else. So
yeah, what's your best tip for energy management? Because these, especially when you get into a 3-day tournament or more, I mean, Kim, it sounds like that match play tournament was almost 4 days.
Well, it was 4 days with 5 rounds.
Yeah. So what's your best tip for managing your energy?
Yeah, plenty of sleep. I think I track all my stuff with the Fitbit, so I think that kind of gives, like, a lot of people use Whoop and everything, but I think that it helps just to kind of know. Sometimes I would still try and like work out and just do a little too much. I realize I'm not Tiger, and I got to have a little more downtime sometimes. So really prioritizing the sleep and nutrition side of things, and I think the biggest thing for me too is like figuring out what to eat during the round. A lot of times I would try and go fasted. Sometimes I'd eat a big breakfast. So just kind of figuring out what works for you and what time you're going out, I think, helps a lot too.
Yeah. Do you drink at all before? Like, do you say, okay, I'm not going to drink any booze?
Oh, no, yeah.
Or after or during?
Yeah, I mean, I might have a beer after one of the tournament days, but for the most part, pretty much sober and focusing on the golf, and that's some electrolytes and water. Pretty cool at 35,
Well, yeah, because it's a big deal. I start the State Am next Tuesday, And I am thinking now about getting hydrated. Like, I'm like, okay, you heard my 4 liters of water. I have to drink that today and every day up until Tuesday.
Oh, gag me.
Well, that's a lot. What
It
about
is a lot,
electrolytes? You doing electrolytes or anything?
Yes, I'll put in like one of the powder things or whatever, but it's just, I just feel so dehydrated in this heat, and I just don't, I want to go into it feeling somewhat at least level, not, so I'm trying to do everything I can. How about you, Kim? Kim, so it's interesting that I brought on Michael and Kim onto this episode for tournament prep, because Kim will claim that there is no prep, that it's like, but I bet you are just so, you do the same, you've been doing the same stuff for so long that you don't think of it anymore. It just happens.
Well, I did actually go out and hit I drove to Papago on Wednesday, and I actually hit a bucket of balls and then hit some putts, just because our greens at Apache Wells right now, they they aerated them, so they were awful.
Yeah,
and Papagos were kind of like that, but they had probably done it a week or two earlier, because they were pretty bumpy too. I don't prep, I don't practice. I mean, hitting a bucket of balls makes my back hurt. And as far as drinking, well, you saw what I drink. I mean, I probably drank 4 bottles of water yesterday and a Coke, that's a lot for me. A lot.
But thinking way ahead of time, you are getting, you got your hotel room for the Senior Open. Like, you get things way in advance. Like, these are things that you don't even think about, but you are trying to get as much done in advance as possible.
Oh, yeah, because I know I can, the hotel, you can just cancel it, free. Sometimes if I know I'm going for sure, like Colorado, I've had my ticket to go to Colorado in a couple of weeks, probably for 3 months now. I try and get those all in advance so I don't have to worry about it. But
Michael, are there some key things? Let's move now because we've made our schedule. So is the next move probably a week out, or are you thinking about anything in particular? I mean, practice schedule wise, is there anything that we touch on for like a month before?
Yeah, I try and really limit swing changes. So, like, I don't try and get any lessons or really work on anything. Try out a new training aid, usually 2 weeks leading up to the event. I really want to make sure, just a lot of short game practice at that time. For me, a lot of it comes down to practice rounds. I geek out on Google Earth, mapping out, different holes, where different tees. So for me, I start doing all that stuff. She's laughing. I love it, because I literally play so much better when I have that kind of strategy. I've realized I'm not one of those guys that gets up and just kind of wings it, like DJ looks like he could do that, or, some of these guys that just look like they're out there having fun. I'm like a calculated person out there. And so I think that all starts probably a few days at least before the event for me.
Yeah, so having the most detailed plan for you makes you feel as much as most comfortable as you can.
Yeah, that's just definitely my personality type. I think that's why everyone's different. And so some people are going to benefit from that. Some people, that would stress them out, and that would send them in a spiral downhill.
Well, my problem is in practice rounds, I play good. And it's like...
Do you keep score in practice rounds?
Yeah.
You do? I had a coach tell me to never keep score because you set unrealistic expectations.
Well, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. It really depends.
Are you like grinding over 3-footers and stuff? Or
no,
okay.
No. I don't grind over anything.
I would attest to that. Unless she has what'd you tell me yesterday about if this was 2 years ago, you would be more mad about yesterday?
Oh, yeah, I've kind of realized that at my age that I'm not going to win everything like I used to.
And she did used to win everything, Michael. So
I
haven't made it there,
so yeah.
It's not an exaggeration.
So, I don't get as mad. It's life, I guess. Even though it's hard for me to say all this because, deep down, I really wanted to go to the Senior Open for one reason in particular, but that's okay.
Yeah. No, you still want to win everything, and that's okay.
Well,
you still have the drive. I love it.
Oh,
so she
do.
said that to me on probably hole 16 or 17 yesterday. She turns to me and she said, well, this is unfortunate that this happened today, but if it was 2 years ago, I would be a lot more upset than I am today. So, and I think that we all kind of go through those growing pains of...
Well, I haven't been playing as well it appears that I haven't been playing very well in Arizona for 2 years now. I think I probably should just move back to Colorado, but I can't afford to move, so I guess I'm stuck here.
Do you think it's because the competition is better, or do you think it's just purely just nothing in particular? It's just happened like that.
It's just happening.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the week before then, Michael. So you're saying you're going to get on. So you use Google Earth, because I like to use the Gin app, and just look at the holes that way. But what do you like about Google Earth that's different? Because I got to say, I guess I've maybe attempted to go on Google Earth and really look at a golf course and see how I want to play it. But is that really how you do it?
Yeah, no, it's super geeky. I totally get it. It's fun to talk about too, because it's like you're kind of like Batman. You're like a detective out there. You're trying to figure it out. So I got this whole thing. I actually heard one guy in the AJ talk about it a few years ago, and I was like, well, that's weird. And then I went through Decade Golf, and that's like the whole point of what he talks about. It's like figuring out how wide fairways are and how wide greens are, so that way you can pick targets based on statistical decisions.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's so that way you can basically say, if a fairway or hazard to hazard, you have at least 60 yards, then you can pull driver. But if it's only like 35, 40 yards, like you got to dial it back to 3-wood, because it's basically based on shot dispersion. The longer the club you have, the wider you're going to spray it. Even I think he mentions in the program, like Jason Day, when he was number one driving in the world, he averaged 74 yards shot dispersion. So he's hitting it left, he's hitting it right. So basically, it's just trying to figure out where we should then aim, because you have to figure like golf is like a shotgun, but we just don't really know which bullet's coming out. And so if you pick the right targets, you're going to be able to at least give yourself some leeway if you do hit one right or left, and hopefully avoid the trouble. So that's the biggest thing for me, because like especially with desert golf, I haven't done it yet for Desert Highlands, but like a lot of times they incorporate blind shots with desert golf, which is always frustrating because you're on the tee and you're like, I don't know what's down there. It feels like it's narrow, but in reality it's 60 or 70 yards wide and you just don't realize it. Yeah. So for me, it just gives me that peace of mind. And then it also helps with greens as well. So you can kind of see, because like the pin sheets you get, they're not always the shape of the greens and the things. So you can kind of figure out like, hey, there's actually 10 yards between the bunker and that part of the green. So just having a little bit more data, so that way I can make decisions a little bit more comfortably on the course.
Yeah. Question for you both, actually. So Molly and I did the 4-ball qualifier in Utah last November, and we didn't do a practice round. We just showed up and did it. And there was a hole on the back 9, and the tee shot was completely blind. And it was hard to even guess. It was obviously a dog leg, but you didn't know if it was a dog leg left or a dog leg right. Like, it was bizarre. And could we have driven up and looked?
Yes.
That's allowed.
If you're not holding up play and stuff or holding up groups behind you.
For some reason, I thought that was not allowed, but that's totally...
I've done it like by the green, if you're like in the fairway and you want to see like where the pin is, but I don't know about the tee shot there,
yeah. I'm pretty sure if you're not holding things up. I think we did it a couple times in the short course tournament, I think, last year when it was the first time we played Augusta Ranch. And, there were a couple times when you kind of have to drive up. But
okay, so if there's anyone listening and we're wrong, let us know. But
no, I can tell you, I did it at our mid-am too, in Colorado. I had to, on one hole, drive up a little, not from necessarily the tee, but for the second shot.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So. It was completely blind, and we just were like, okay, well, maybe you aim there and I'll aim there, and we just did it. But so that was one of those scenarios. So, okay, I'm gonna look at. You brought your yardage book for Desert Highland, right?
Came here prepared for you.
Okay, so, and if you're watching on YouTube, there are little pop-ups that will come up to show you what exactly we're looking at now. But let's go to hole number 6.
Feel like we're on a game show.
Okay.
Is that a
So we're gonna just kind of walk through.
I'm a big putt view guy.
Because Michael
looks like a lot of sand. Yeah. It looks like
Michael's actually never played or he hasn't played Desert Highlands yet. So you're looking at this fresh too, with fresh eyes.
I glanced at it and I was like, "There's a little grass. There's a lot. Is it all just dirt? Is it more like desert, or since it's not fairway bunkers, or
No. It is, first of all. So Desert Highlands has desert, and it's very penal. So when you see desert, it is, you go in the desert and you're most likely in a bush too. Like, it's not like Papago where you go in the desert and you're like, most likely I'm fine,
Where is Desert Highlands?
Like up in North Scottsdale.
by
No,
like, up. If you're watching on YouTube, like to me, I don't live in North Scottsdale. I live down, like in Central Phoenix area-ish. And so I just think everything is in the same spot. North Scottsdale, like way up
Well,
there.
is it close to like Troon or?
More north,
Yeah,
like
it's
more
right by Desert Mountain and
Mirabel.
Mirabel, yeah.
Yeah, I had to
Oh.
pass Mirabel to get there.
Oh, you passed Mirabel, so you passed Desert
of.
Mountain.
Yeah. No, I feel like Desert Mountain is like the last stop before oblivion. Sorry.
True.
This is a Phoenix gal talking about North Scottsdale right now. Ashley's here. She's laughing because she lives in North
When
Scottsdale.
I played golf, we had the AZM up there last year. I'm like, where's everything at? Like,
Yeah.
where's my Taco Bell? Where's my grocery store? I hear you.
They have to drive a long way to the airport.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can kind of see what we're looking at. But we're just going to kind of plan out hole number 6 at Desert Highlands to see where we would play. Now, another thing to do when you're starting to prep for a tournament is figure out what yardages you're playing. So at Arizona, the state posts the yardages, like even by hole, that we're going to be playing, and I can just print it out and see exactly what tee box we'll be playing from. So when you're looking at, for example, the GIN app, that's what I'm looking at, you can kind of start your measuring by whatever tee box you're playing. So for hole number 6, we are playing 343 yards. So I'll put it on that tee box. And this hole is, how would you explain it? A double fairway, or like, how would you guys explain it?
Looks like a double fairway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got, it looks like, so you're going to be 343, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So it's probably.
That right tee box, I would
Yeah, so
imagine?
I just was trying to, because the yardage book's all based on the tip, so you got to do a
Yeah.
little math to figure out.
Oh,
so
figures.
it's
It's
about 80 yards or so, less than that. So
Yep.
can you see what the carry is to the left
So
fairway?
the carry, so again, I'm using the GIN app so I can easily kind of see the distance
Are
to
the red
carry
numbers
on
the
the
carry?
left.
The red numbers are what you're going to have left.
It's 170.
So it's 170. How far does your driver go, carry?
Probably carries 230.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing though. So here's my game. Am I swinging to that level when I'm looking at all this desert? Probably not. So I always, like in this case, I'm looking at this hole and I've seen it in person, and I don't think I'll be able to swing that easy. So.
What do you
in
mean
my-
swing that easy? You don't feel confident with the driver on that hole, or?
Yeah, I don't feel confident when there's very penal desert around.
Okay, I feel like-
these fairways are so small.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it looks like left's the play, though, right? I mean, even if you hit 3-wood, you're going to hit that over 170. I just
Yeah.
feel like if we're going right, we're adding 20-plus yards to your approach shot, which is then straight over desert.
So looking at this hole, though, that right fairway, do you think that's there for more of the back tee boxes then?
I mean, honestly, not really, because it's only 240 to get over for the tip. So, I mean, that's still, everyone, is not going to have an issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes they're there just to make you think a little bit more.
Yeah.
I-
And can you imagine, as a player, if you've never seen the course and you're just showing up to this course with no plan, looking at 2 fairways, one on the right, one on the left, and thinking, well, shit, what do I, like, which one do I pick? Which one? So knowing here, we're looking at it in advance, and Michael's saying it's clearly left. Like, that is the play. It's clearly left.
I mean, it just looks like it's the same width as well. It looks like you have a little bit, it might even be slightly wider depending on where you're going to be carrying it versus the right. I don't know what's right of the right fairway, but again, you're adding 20-plus yards onto your approach shot, so your strokes gained is going to go up on your approach most likely. I mean, and it looks like the angle for the green is going to be better from the left when you're going to have like a straight shot at it because it's just the way the green is positioned. So I think like whenever I have like super tight holes like this, you really just got to commit to it. And so like having that, like, maybe it's going to be 3-wood for you, or maybe it's going to be your hybrid, whatever is going to be your club, but like really try in your practice rounds to find some targets. Some people benefit from the aim small, miss small approach, like that cactus. I'm going to hit a draw at that cactus. I like zones, so I'll try and find a cactus and then another cactus or 2 power lines or something.
I like that.
So I like that. It frees me up more. I've learned that last year through the mental golf type system, and it just changed my game because I was trying to force it in those real small targets, and that just goes against the way I'm wired. It tries to kind of take out the playing of golf and the reacting that I actually do better with. So having those like really confirmed targets are key. And so like when I was out on my practice round yesterday, I was actually like kind of figuring out, okay, I like these two zones. So I think that any tight hole, you got to have your targets committed, your clubs committed, but then you got to just kind of let go. Yeah. I think that steering your driver, steering a club off the tee is one of the easiest ways to get yourself in trouble. You're trying to guide it in there. You're not making your normal athletic swing. You're probably going to lose some distance. And so just commit to the club and the target, go through your routine and get it.
And so when you're looking at Google Earth and this vantage point, so you are able to see the hole just from the top, or are you able to
You can change it,
down?
yeah. You can change all the different ways you can view the hole, and then there's a measure, so you can basically figure out how wide certain things are. And so, it sounds advanced. I want to like clarify, like I went 5-6 years of never doing this. I would just use generic $5 yardage books that I got, and that helped. But again, for me, trying to get to the highest level, really trying to see what I'm capable of, like that's what I like. And I know a lot of guys that do something similar with the yardage books or that, but don't like overwhelm yourself. If you're trying to do this and you're like, I'm overwhelmed, I don't even know where the first hole is, because you go on Google Earth, it doesn't say hole 1, hole 2, so you're like trying to figure it out.
Oh, that's a good point.
And so just don't get overwhelmed. But if you're someone that geeks out on information and you think it'll help you play better, like it's just a free resource that can definitely help.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I had to think about all that shit, I wouldn't be playing this game.
This is why it's like yin and yang.
This is perfect.
Today.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm
Have you
a
ever
field
seen
player.
one of these then?
I have seen. Actually, they gave us a Straka one, and I looked at the green, and I'm like, I have no idea what any of this means.
Isn't that crazy though, Michael? She is one of the top players in the country, and she just goes by feel. And do you know how to read that yardage book? Because I don't. No, this is because honestly, you play with a lot of players that use yardage books like that, and they're looking at God knows what. I have no fucking idea. And it's like the thought of being like, I have no idea what I'm looking at is embarrassing to me, but it's not.
I don't even take notes typically when I go out and play
Just
a practice
raw
round.
talent right there. I am just jealous.
I just memorize, or like on par threes, if I hit a shot, okay, that's the club. I don't take notes usually because if I take notes, it doesn't matter because they just sit there and I never look at them again.
How about this classic move when you're doing a practice round and in the beginning you're taking all these notes and then by like hole 12 you've completely abandoned all practice round.
I mean, it's even like when I play practice rounds with my friends at the senior amateur, the national senior amateur and stuff. They're hitting putts from every side of the green, and I hit a couple putts. See ya. Go sit in my cart until it's time to go to the next hole.
Well, so let's move on to approach shots, and because we were just talking about tee shots there and how to plan a tee shot, and I actually did this method where I was looking ahead at the GPS and making notes for the Mid-Am last June. So I do want to share my own experience on how that played out. But let's look at approach shots now, Michael. So what kind of notes are you making for yourself for the approach shot, if any?
Yeah, so I always, again, geek out, and I measure the width of the green, so that way I can do the decade math to figure out should I be aiming at the flag more, should I be aiming at the middle of the green, so it just gives you, again, playing to your misses. You're just trying to not short side yourself. Mm-hmm. So what I like about that is that it's just a numbers-based thing. So, for example, if you're 200 yards out, the math on that says you should never aim more towards the flag unless it's at least 10 towards the middle, because your miss from 200 is going to be a lot bigger of a miss than, if you're 80 yards out, you're not going to miss a lob wedge. So it's just giving yourself more room to miss. That's really what make Tiger so great. Yes, he's just awesome at everything, but his course management, he just doesn't short side himself a lot, and obviously he had a great short game to do it, but that was a part of his game that I don't think a lot of people really appreciate, and it's just not short siding yourself and just trying to stay away from double bogeys, right? So bogeys aren't the end of the world, but it's just trying to give yourself, the best opportunity. So for approach shots, I will look at that, and then I will try and find if there's a certain bunker that is really bad, like it just is going to lead to higher scores. Maybe the sand, I've been in before, maybe it just leads to a straight downhill shot. So like at Poston Butte, where the AZM was, there was a bunker on the left on number 9 that is just, if you're in there, it's just impossible. It's straight downhill, assuming you get good sand and a good lie. It's still going to be pretty much, you're going to chip it into the next bunker. So for that one, I'll be changing and I'll be writing that stuff down and be like, left's the worst place you could be, miss right. And I'm constantly just trying to give myself the easiest chip shot if I do miss the green. So those are probably the 2 things. And then if there's any elevation changes, I notate that, maybe if it's +2 or -2. And then if there's any runoffs, so sometimes you might have a false front, or you might have something, hey, I'm going to add a few extra yards to carry because if I don't hit it perfect, I might hit that false front, roll back down. So just trying to give myself, I plan to miss a lot of shots. I mean, you're probably only going to hit 7 or 8 shots during the day that are like, that's exactly how I came out. So it's just trying to navigate, your okay shot, so that way you're not getting yourself in too much trouble.
Exactly. And I mean, yesterday, Kim, when you had that double on that hole, that was probably the one time you got really mad at yourself. And that's what Michael was really saying, like avoiding doubles at all costs.
Well, I just really wasn't swinging very good until we got to the back 9.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you knew like that double, like that, you just don't want to get a double.
No, you don't. But I've had a lot of those this year, and some triples, and maybe a quad here. It's
sprinkling in a quad.
I had at least that. Don't worry. I hear you.
Okay, so how about getting to the green? So, I mean, you obviously can't see much of the green from, like, as far as elevation-wise or how it looks. Are you going now into an app by any means to like look at the green? Like
no, these so I use the Putt View books. They have 3 different ones. So they have a $29, $39, and a $49 one. So this one's the most expensive one. It has yardage and green maps. So the other ones are just like blank greens, so they don't have anything on there.
Okay, so you have your Desert Highlands yardage book, and you just bought that on Putt. What is it called?
Putt View.
Putt View.
Yeah.
Look at that. So you can buy a yardage book.
Because the Pro Shop one's
Well, you can on Straka too.
Yeah.
In AGA, I think you probably get a discount. At least you do in Colorado.
I see. I never knew that.
But
I never knew you could just buy a yardage book from a course.
But again, you have to know in advance where you're playing, because I don't know how long does it take to get them.
2 days. It's super fast with these. But yeah, I mean, your schedule comes out. I book all my tournaments, and for the most part, at least the AGA in January.
Yeah.
So I kind of have, and I keep them all. So I have this bin of yardage books.
Oh, man, I love
and that. Yeah, so it's pretty funny. But I think the biggest thing I'd say to people that are listening and maybe not watching too is don't get overwhelmed. If you just want to stick with the one from the Pro Shop or the $29 one here that doesn't have the green view, because the green view, you can get overwhelmed looking at all those arrows on the green, off the green, and the last thing you want is your mind stressed out. And so again, I just challenge everyone to figure what works best for them.
And slow play.
Oof. I agree, it can, but I'm not one of those people.
No, because you do it all the time. But
yeah,
you have to be
100%.
careful if you get one of these books and you don't know what the hell you're doing with it. It's like you're going to be out there forever, and the people
test it
you,
out in a practice round, test it out in a
not be too
casual
happy.
round. I completely agree. Slow play is the plague of golf. Absolutely hate it. USGA officials hate it. I mean, everybody hates it. So
Except no one gets penalized, so what's the big deal?
Slightly true.
Well, it's true though. I mean, I'm probably one of the fastest players you'll ever see, and of course, I'm at the end of the field yesterday behind a slow threesome. And it's like,
you guys were a twosome?
Yeah, and it's
that's
like, why
tough.
didn't you call us ahead of time? And there were 2 twosomes that teed off first, and we could have been all threesomes. Well, I guess you can't mess around with the USGA's pairings when they come out.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I find
makes
that.
sense. So as far as the putt map is, I'm glad that you brought that. So I'm going to take some pictures of that too, just so the listeners can see that, because I have never seen, at least that's new to me. So how are you planning anything about the greens that you're planning, or is it still kind of yard or approach shot, and that's where you're doing all your?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely realizing if there's a ridge, or if there's a 2-tier system or somewhere if it's going to hit on the left side, it can really slope off. So I'll definitely make some notes of that. They do a pretty good job on that here, so it makes it a little bit easier.
So what does the red And the blue mean?
Yeah, so it's different speeds. So like green and blue are more flatter. This is clearly like a ridge right here, so it's going to be more slope. So it's most likely like a two-tier green.
Yeah.
But then yeah, if you have a yardage book, then you can figure out where the pin is. You can figure out where your ball is, and then you can actually get a little assistance with the green read. And she's having a nightmare right now thinking about it. But I do agree. You got to not let it slow down. So when everyone else is putting, that's when you need to be doing your thing.
Yes.
You know, and I think that. I always go into an event and I'm going to some courses you just read greens better on than others. And so sometimes this can be too much, even for me. And so I'll say, hey, I'm trusting my eyes first. If I don't know, because there's nothing worse than standing over a putt. You're not committed because you're like, is it left? Is it right? Going to the book sometimes can at least help. I always say go with your gut. 90% of the time it's going to be right and you're going to hit a better putt anyways. But don't feel like you have to look at this every single time just because not only it's going to slow you down, but it might just cause some indecision and you might not hit nearly as good of putts.
Yeah. And then again, Kim was asking what the colors mean on the map. I'm looking at the Gen app right now too, and when you do a green view, it's the same coloring system. So blue, white, green, I imagine are more flat. And then when you get in the orange, yellow, orange, red, that is more slope. So in case you're looking at that too. Okay, so let's say you're going to go play your practice round tomorrow. What are some things that you're going to make special note of on your yardage book, if anything? Or do you keep that fairly clean? I mean,
This one's clean because it's brand new, but normally, yeah, it's like definitely a lot of notes in there.
Yeah. And exactly what your target is going to be as far as like a certain bush or a certain tree.
Yeah, I'll try and identify a target zone, maybe on par threes, what I've hit in the past before. I think that's key. And then for me, like with practice rounds, I'll just try and hit driver on every par four and par five because I want to at least see where it ends up. It might not be the play in the tournament, but it's at least nice to hit it. And then if you're, in a tournament, you can be like, well, I hit driver, that didn't really end up good, and you're creating your game plan. Because there's nothing worse than hitting a hybrid, for example, in your practice round, and then you get out there and you're like, man, I could hit driver. You got that indecision a little bit. So for me, I just send driver on every par four or par five, and then I can always dial it back when I'm going through my strategy. And if you have more of a casual practice round, of course, you can hit an extra shot. But yeah, I like to have notes, because sometimes where the pins are going to be on certain courses. It feels like just tendencies if it's the same course, like we play Aguila every March, so we know pretty similar pins usually. So it's like, hey, that putt doesn't break as much as you think. Little things like that.
Yeah. So for the Mid-Am, it was at TPC Champions course, and I had played the course back in January, but I didn't do any other formal practice run right before. So I took out the GPS, the Gen app, and kind of looked through the course and had a formal plan for each hole. Like you're going to hit your four hybrid here, aim towards the right side, and I had a clear plan, and I was using, even once I got up to the green, I was using the green view to kind of see, okay, this is where my ball is, this is where the pin is, let's see what the break will look like and whatnot. And luckily I wasn't driving that day, so I kind of had time to kind of look at all this shit while they were driving the cart. But you definitely have to figure out a system on how to revisit the plan, see what you're going to do, look and see where your ball is, and kind of flow at a good pace so it's not distracting. You're keeping up pace of play, and you're staying into that flow state too, So, but I had a plan going into that first round. I played really well. And, it's tough. The second and third round were not great by any means, so it was tough to stick with that plan. Sometimes when you fall off, you just want to like you were saying in the back nine, it was just like you just want to, I don't know.
Well, no, I knew I wasn't going to make it, so you just kind of chill out and just swing the club.
Yeah. And Michael, for the most part, the second round, I stuck with the plan too. Because it worked the first day. I mean, I saw it worked. I didn't, so I stuck with it the second day. I guess going into third day being completely out of it, especially the back nine being completely out of it, I probably stuck with the same one, but going into 18, I think I really wanted to at least par 18, and 18's a tough hole with water all the way down the left. So I think I used my 3-wood on that instead of a driver, so that I just stayed safe and I didn't, make the round even worse than what it was. But yeah, I think actually for the most part I stuck with it. But yeah, it just didn't turn out the way we all wanted it to.
I mean, that's still golf, right? You can have
golf.
the best plan, and then your swing's like, yeah, I'm not showing up today.
Exactly. So let's go into the day of. Kim, I know again you might say that you don't have a routine, but I know you have a routine.
No, I
Yes.
have to be at the golf course about an hour ahead, and it's usually not for practice. It's to socialize.
Yeah.
Most of the time, my friends, they go as far away on the range as they can because they know I probably won't walk that far down there to bother them and stuff. But no, I'll hit some wedges and 7-irons and maybe a couple drivers and stuff, and then I'll go hit a few putts. But it's like if you hit the ball really good on the range, almost always I'm not going to hit it very good on the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
Same with putting. If I'm on the putting green making a lot of putts, then I'm probably not going to putt very well. Now, the day before when I practiced, I made a lot of putts. Yesterday, before we went out and played, I hardly made any.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for me, I putted pretty well yesterday.
Yeah.
My distance was pretty good, and
Yeah, it was.
and everything.
What do you because you pretty much set a plan on the range. You have a wedge, you have your 7-iron, and maybe a couple drivers. When you go on the putting green, is there?
No, I just hit some
You
short
just hit-
putts and I hit some longer putts just to try and get the feel of the speed of the greens.
Mm-hmm. And what are you packing for food and drinks? Because again, even though you say you don't have no routine, I know you're packing the same thing every time.
I have water with Kool-Aid in it because I hate just drinking.
And it's straight up Kool-Aid?
no,
Oh.
it's the drops, Okay. So I put it.
I thought she was going to say straight up Kool-Aid.
I was like, I am doing something
amazing.
wrong. Yeah, dang, I thought that was a secret.
No. I pour the drops in because
Yeah.
I really don't like to drink water.
Yeah, so you
unless
need a little
it's
flavor.
hot. So I had my bottle of water too, and I was kind of going back and forth, and I had some pretzels, and that was in a I always have to have one Diet Coke.
Yep. So you always have to have a Diet Coke. It always has to be in a bottle. You're not messing with cans.
Well, the cans in the golf carts, they lose all their fizz.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
And you only
bottles.
had pretzels with you? No, you had some beef jerky.
Oh no, I had some Slim Jims,
So you had some Slim Jim.
and that was it.
But are you getting that the morning of?
No, I had some of it ready the night before.
See, we're uncovering the routine.
I did the Kool-Aid and stuff and put it in the
She's my
refrigerator.
hero.
Yeah.
You're absolutely my hero.
Can you imagine if she said Kool-Aid?
Kool-Aid and
done.
pretzels, man. I would be hangry. I would be melting down like Chernobyl out there if I didn't have food. Oh my gosh.
But you're usually pretty stocked. Okay, Michael, what's your prep the day of? Or are you doing it the day of?
I feel like people are going to watch this and be like, this guy really plans too much. Because, we even got the
I'm an unusual subject.
She's awesome. So mine is, I'll definitely get stuff together the night before a little bit. But yeah, I always have at least one PB&J, usually 2, get a banana in there. Do some couple of protein bars, 1 to 2 protein shakes. Usually don't eat much before.
How is the protein shake not melting? Or is it?
Yeah, I buy those Premier Protein from Costco, so they're already shake.
Okay,
yeah.
so they're in that
They're already good to go. I bring a cooler with me, so literally, I'm like,
You have a straight up.
I am not
Even
messing
if
around.
you're in a cart.
Absolutely, if I'm in a car,
Where
yeah.
do you put it?
Just in the back, yeah.
You put it in the basket?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
What if your
Makapani,
cart-
they had a big cooler in the back of their cart yesterday.
What if your cart partner also has a cooler?
We've always made it work. I've never had an issue. Knock on some wood here, but I can
You've never
honestly.
had a cart partner issue
I
where
can.
you're hogging
I
up
can
all the
honestly
space?
say though that I have inspired 6 guys that I know of to bring their own coolers, and they're like, damn, I'm playing so much better now. I'm not hungry, I'm not thirsty. So I have to laugh at that because that's like my family's motto. Like, you just show up prepared, food, drinks, like ready to go. And so it's so funny, like when I started walking in the USGA events, I'm like, well, this cooler is not gonna, it was like falling over. It was a disaster. I was playing bad. It's just hot. And I was like, okay, I gotta figure this out. So they make coolers that you can actually attach to push carts too. So I don't walk much, obviously. And so I got one of those, took that to Torrey Pines when I walked, and took that for USGA stuff. So I always have that. Water. I do take some sort of energy drink too. I like to have extra caffeine. I've noticed on the back nine that sometimes I get a little mentally sloppy, and so I'll take Gatorade has a new thing called Fast Twitch. So it's electrolytes and caffeine. And so I usually have half of that on the first and then half of it on 9 or 10.
Okay, wait, that's interesting.
So that's a big one.
Because it probably doesn't make you feel jittery.
No, not really. I mean, I usually am just more excited than anything else already, but it's
Exactly.
just that little extra mental boost. I hate when especially when it's hot out and you just like I did that a couple tournaments ago. I just finished bogey, and I'm like, God, I just didn't have it, and I just felt kind of sloppy there. So that's how I get all the stuff prepared. So again, I'd much rather have more food that I've thrown away or taken home than not enough. And then because how many times have you guys stood over a putt, by the way, and your stomach growls? Is that just me?
No,
Because that's
it
embarrassing.
happens.
And I'm like, what happened there? I'm like, oh, I was hungry. Like, come on, Mike,
So how often are you eating throughout your round? Are you
I'm
just,
grazing pretty much the whole time.
the whole
yeah.
time? Mm-hmm. Wow. And you never feel like really full?
No, I don't usually
that's
eat like
the worst feeling.
That is absolutely the worst feeling. So yeah, save the Taco Bell for afterwards.
Yeah,
Save the feast for after.
Yeah.
But the actual day of, I get there about 75 minutes or so ahead of time. It's a little social aspect at this point too. I used to try and be like Tiger in the zone, not talking to anyone. I'm not as cool as Abe. I can't do it. So I got to talk to people a little bit. I go to the putting green. I hit a lot of 2, 3, 4 footers. I just want to see the ball go in the hole a lot. Then I'll do 30 to 40 footers because that's statistically going to be your average birdie putt. So goal is obviously not to 3 putt. Spend a little bit of time chipping and pitching. If they have a bunker, rarely they do that. And then go to the range. Got the same 7 clubs I hit every time. And then I'll go back to the putting green about 10 minutes before and do just one ball, go through my full routine. And that way I'm ready to go.
Isn't that interesting though that you say the full intense mode is not for, like, you figured out that's not for you? I've actually kind of figured out that's not for me either. Like I need to
Like I like having
talk
music
to-
on, but
yeah.
like I'm still talking to
Yeah,
people
I
and
need
stuff,
to like
yeah.
check in with a couple people and just kind of relax a little bit. So what are the 7 clubs that you hit?
So start off with, I do the stack. So I do like a speed training. So I do 8 swings of that first, fully weighted, just to get the body a little loose. And then go into sand wedge, pitching wedge, 8-iron, hybrid, 3-wood, driver, and then ending always on the first club that I'll hit. Usually it's driver, but if it's some other hole, I'll always end on that. So I like to go through my full pre-shot routine. Got that from Tiger. You want to see the shot you want to hit. You want to hit the club you want to hit for the first hole, and finish on a good memory.
Yeah. Well, I definitely have taken a lot from today's episode that I'm going to test out this week, going into the state am. Even you, Kim, come on. Like, meaning I need to do better with food, especially. As little as it might sound, or silly as it might sound, I do think that, again, I'm so concerned with being hydrated, but I think that there is a strong component of me being too hungry too. And almost you get over that hungry phase into exhaustion and fuzziness. Yep. So I have to be mindful of that going into next week for sure. And it's hard to eat
when it's hot out.
so hot out.
That's where the shakes come in handy, though, because you're at least getting some. You can just chug it real quick, and they're ready to go.
It's a good point. All right, so Kim, remind us all what's next for you.
Well, I'm going up to Delta, Colorado, Pat and I, for a little best ball tournament.
Yeah.
Which is fun. This will be our 4th event that we've played in together.
Yeah, this year.
This year, yeah. June we finished 3rd in 3 events. I mean 2nd in 3 events every time. Finished 2nd.
Wow.
And we should win this one. We usually do. And then I fly back up to Colorado the 14th for the state senior stroke play, which I told you is at Eaton Country Club.
All right.
Eaton Country Club. Eaton, Colorado is named after my family, and so I say not only do I have my own country club, I have my own zip code.
And, I mean, let's get a trophy at Eaton Country Club. Come on,
Well,
let's
we
do
really
it.
don't want trophies. I wish they would quit giving me trophies.
No, come on. It's for the picture.
I'm trying to get rid of my trophies. I don't have room.
Can you give me a few? I can start visualizing it.
Yes,
I'll just put my name on it. Get the vision board.
You got it.
'cause
Michael, we really feel bad for her, don't we?
Some of them say AWGA, but people
That's
wouldn't
fine.
know. You could,
It's just a manifestation. Just get
Just
that
take the
visualization
W out.
going. Yep.
yeah.
And Michael, remind us what's next for you.
We have the Arizona Open next week, Arizona AM following week, and then mid-AM qualifying, and then I go up to Oregon for 10 days for 2 events up there. So
Is one of those the Pacific Coast or whatever?
no, it's back in my hometown. There's a 2-day event, and then there's the Southern Oregon Golf. It's the largest match play event at one course in the U.S. There's like 400 people in it, every division, every age. It's really fun. So it's 2 days, or it's a qualifying day, and then you go at least 2 days match play, and then play until you lose, kind of like the AZM. So.
Yeah, that sounds like a bust. And actually, one last question that I wanted to ask him, because that, again, sounds like a very jam-packed schedule. In the days in between, is practice a top priority, or are you just
Not
letting
really.
practice go?
Yeah, at this point, we've hopefully, knock on wood, got it figured out. I mean, if I have a really bad tournament day, I'll go to the simulator and work on a few things. But for the most part, it's really just trying to make sure you're not tired. I don't want to, try and bang a jumbo bucket the day before and think I have to grind it out. I'd rather take a day off, just get that mental, physical refresh and be ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. Do the men, are they concerned about WAGR points? I mean, yeah, World Amateur Golf Rankings. Do you get, for the women, the top 30 senior women amateurs get exempt into the senior amateur. They don't have to qualify. Does that happen with the men?
I am so far from figuring out where I am on that list. I'll let you know in the next episode.
I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
no, I would love to.
Because it's a big deal in the women's. I mean, there are women who travel everywhere because maybe Texas doesn't have a lot of WAGR point tournaments. So now we got girls coming to Colorado to play. We got girls coming to Arizona from all over to play. And it's just go qualify. Quit worrying about it.
I think my guess is that it's a lot more of an issue at the senior level.
I guess. I don't know. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, because WAGR's really not run correctly anyway, I don't think.
Oh,
so.
boy, that's a whole nother episode, Kim.
Oh, I couldn't even begin to. You don't want me on that one because I don't know enough. I just know that it benefits. I mean, states that have a lot of events like Florida.
Yeah, it benefits those who can get exemption status into bigger tournaments.
Well, and it benefits those who have a lot of money who can travel all over the place.
Yeah.
So.
All right, Kim, Michael, thanks for being on today. I appreciate
you.
it. I wish you all the luck on the final stages of our summer schedule.
Our schedule really doesn't end, though, until November.
I know. But the busy, super busy part of it's in
So
the
we're
summer
going to
for us.
partner up for 2 events in October and November.
I know. So we'll see how that goes. We haven't been partners in a long time.
Yeah, but
we're
the one
1-0.
time we were,
We're
we're
100%
yeah,
W
We're
still.
1-0.
All right, thanks, guys.